Everyone is talking about how Bitcoin could eventually hit $500,000 per Bitcoin, $500,000. But what if it's going to hit that a lot sooner than everyone expects? What if we are right on the verge of entering a crypto super cycle that is going to send Bitcoin's price to unprecedented heights? And missing this opportunity or missing this cycle could be one of the biggest financial mistakes of your life. This is one video you definitely do not want to skip, so pay attention. Let's dive in. So why Bitcoin could hit 500K much sooner than you think? Well, if you've been around for a while and you've looked at the chart of crypto, I'm pretty sure you have seen this pattern before, the 4-year cycle. So if you look at all of the cycles from 2011 to 2014, 2018, 2022, you see that they all move in a very particular pattern. They have 4 phases. You have the bear market, which is quite a big correction downwards. It's a 70, 80, 90% correction from the previous all-time high. Then afterwards, we have the pre-bull phase, where the market has bottomed out. It's finding a stable bottom and a stable price range. And from there onwards, the market is processing all of the pain that it has gone through in the previous phase. And the bull market, one thing that you need to remember is that bull markets don't start when we enter the parabolic phase of the market cycle. No, the crypto bull market cycle starts at the bottom of the bear market. And that's why we call this the pre-bull. So when the market is bottoming out and it's finding new support and it's picking up steam again and we're slowly going to go up, that's when we're entering the first phase of the bull market cycle. So here we generally tend to see the first big spike in optimism. The early Bitcoin believers are coming back into the market, allocating their capital again, and the market starts to go up. And then in the final phase of the bull market, the second phase of the bull market, we see the exponential bull market. That's when everyone is throwing their money left and right at crypto. That's the moment when you're going out for dinner with friends and everyone is only talking about how every single investment that they've made into crypto only goes up and up and up from here. And people are basically completely disconnected from what they're actually investing in. They're just looking at the crypto market like a casino, throwing their money left and right, because everything almost goes up during that period of the market and everyone thinks they're a genius. That is how the crypto market cycle works. Now, one question that we need to answer is, why does the crypto market move in these 4-year cycles? Well, that all has to do with the Bitcoin halving events that happen every 4 years. So what are these Bitcoin halving events? Well, explained in very simple words, every 4 years, no, let's take one step backwards. So whenever you're doing a transaction on the Bitcoin network, 2 things happen. Number 1, Bitcoin gets deducted from your wallet and it gets added to someone else's wallet. And the second thing is that you pay a transaction fee to the Bitcoin network. Well, who is the Bitcoin network? That's not a centralized entity like a bank or a government. No, it's miners. Those are individuals with specialized mining equipment, which are processing transactions on the network. And all of these transactions are bundled together into big blocks of transactions. And when these blocks of transactions are processed and verified, the miners receive a reward. We call this the block reward. And in 2009, when the first block of Bitcoin was mined, we called it the Genesis block. The block reward was set to 50 Bitcoin for every block of transactions that was processed by the Bitcoin miners. And every 4 years, this block reward got halved. So it went from 50 Bitcoin per block of transactions to 25 Bitcoin to 12.5 to 6.25. And now the block reward is at 3.1 Bitcoin per block of transactions. And now you might think like, oh, back in the days, miners would earn 50 Bitcoin per block of transactions. That's so much more than right now. That's true, but back in the days, 1 Bitcoin would be worth less than $1. So a lot of those miners in the early days just sold off their Bitcoin to make a very tiny profit. And nowadays, those Bitcoins are worth 50K, 60K, 70, 80. If you're holding on to it much longer, then even much more. So because the block rewards get halved every 4 years, the new supply that gets released on the market becomes more scarce. And this usually initiates a supply shock. And what do we mean with a supply shock? Well, that all comes down to the fact that people realize that the demand is becoming more scarce and that there's just a very limited amount. And people start to have FOMO, fear of missing out. They want to get their hands on this asset no matter what the price is, because they only believe it's going to go up and up in value over the long term. And that's why every 4 years, when this Bitcoin halving event happens, at least in the previous cycles, and do keep in mind that past performance is never a guarantee for future success, but we've seen in the past that whenever we had these Bitcoin halving events, which are marked by these red dotted lines, a new parabolic phase, so the second phase of the crypto bull market, starts to kick in. And if we look at the previous cycles, we saw that from the bottom around 2011, the crypto market or Bitcoin's price went up with 11,645%. That's insane. That is something completely unprecedented, something that you rarely ever see in the stock market or other types of traditional investments. Then from 2014, you see that the price of Bitcoin went up with 7,382%. In the previous cycle, it went up with around 2,000%. So those are insane numbers. And that's also the reason why Bitcoin was called the best asset class of the past decade, because these returns are unprecedented. Like Bitcoin generated on average 236% annualized returns in the previous decade. Now, another nice chart that I want to share with you to give you an understanding of how much the price of Bitcoin can go up from here. Usually we see that from the bottom to the moment that Bitcoin 4x's in price. So that's the moment when the parabolic phase of the bull market starts. So in 2017, we hit that point where from the bottom of the market, the price of Bitcoin 4x'd, we saw a 10x multiplier of the price of Bitcoin. Then when we saw that same point happen in the market again in 2021, we saw a 7x multiplier in the price of Bitcoin. And right now we are at the pivotal point where we just hit this 4x multiplier from the bottom of Bitcoin. And now the question is, how big is the multiplier going to be? And the title of this video is that Bitcoin could hit 500K much faster than most people expect. And if you want to know why, then stay tuned for the next part of the video. But before we dive in, if you enjoy watching videos like this one, then make sure to hit the like button, because I'm doing my best to help you to get an edge in the market and to help you to make sense of everything that is happening in this space. And I'm trying to do that by breaking everything down into simple, logical steps that anyone should be able to follow. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting videos regularly to help you to get an advantage as an investor in this quite volatile and sometimes chaotic and confusing market. All right, I have two theories that I want to share with you, but both come down to this image. This is an image that is circulating around quite a lot on X or Twitter, however you want to call it. And what does this image symbolize? Well, it is a beach ball that has been held underwater for a very long period of time. And what happens when you push a beach ball underwater? It builds up a lot of pressure, and at some point, if you release it, it will shoot up in the air, and it will happen very quickly. I believe that this is a really great analogy for what is happening right now with Bitcoin, and that we will soon see a very steep, explosive run up. And I've got two theories that I want to share with you that are going to back this up. And guys, this is not financial advice. Everything in this video is purely for educational purposes. I'm just sharing my own philosophy and thesis, but please also do your own research, all right? I hope that's clear. So my first theory about why we could see a 500K Bitcoin much sooner than most people think all has to do with the previous bull market cycle, which I believe ended way too soon. Maybe you know this guy or this Twitter profile. It's called Plan B, and it's a Dutch institutional investor. He has been managing money for family offices in the Netherlands and actually also, I think, international. So he has been managing quite a lot of millions, maybe even billions. And he has a very strong mathematical background. And a few years ago, he discovered Bitcoin. And when he started to analyze it and really understand it, he decided that he was going to dive deep into this asset. And he became one of the main influencers and analysts in this space. He created the model, which is now sort of the go-to model for people in the crypto space to get an estimate of where the price of Bitcoin will go. And this model is called the stock-to-flow model. What does this model tell you? Well, based on how much stock, so how much supply there is already in the market and how much new supply is being added to the market, and based on a whole mathematical and statistical model around that, he predicted that the price of Bitcoin would move along this brown line more or less. Of course, it has some deviations up and some deviations below, but the general line tends to be the brown line. And so far, it has been moving quite well along this line. And according to Plan B, the Bitcoin price should have more or less hit 100K in the previous market cycle. And quick note over here, this vertical axis, this y-axis over here, is a logarithmic axis. So that means that every step is a multiplier of 10. So 100, 1,000, 10K, 100K, 1 million. So in the previous cycle, he expected that the price of Bitcoin would hit 100K. And a lot of people were looking at that price target as quite holy. Like some people were saying like, oh yeah, when it hits 100K, I'm going to start cashing out my crypto. But as you may or may not know, 67K, I believe, was the top of the previous market. And many people in the crypto industry deemed this model as invalid. They said, yeah, Plan B has been wrong. This is not an accurate model anymore. So we're not going to listen anymore to his predictions. But I don't believe that his model necessarily is wrong. I believe that due to external circumstances, there was a variation to his planned price prediction. And this variation all has to do with a major political event, which we're going to dive into in a bit. So what you should understand is that when we are entering a bull market, and this is a chart of 2017, 2018, most people believe that it's a line that's only going to go up and up and up and up to the moon without any stopping. But that's not true. Throughout a bull market cycle, there are many corrections. 38% correction, 38%, 33, 38, 36, 29%. And during all of these corrections, people are extremely fearful. They're panicking. They're thinking that, you know, the top of the bull market is in and the market is only going to crash from there onwards. And whenever you are in such a, correction, such a deep correction, and we receive even worse news, like what could be worse news than potentially World War III happening? So that's what we saw in February 2022. During one of those corrections, we suddenly heard the news that Russia invaded Ukraine. And on that day, you see it over here, February 22nd. So around that day, we were experiencing extreme fear. So if you are already in an extremely fearful market, and on top of that, you hear rumors that World War III is going to erupt, then the market is not going to take that very well. Then you get a correction on a correction. And that was basically the end of the bull market cycle. After that, the market went down, it bottomed, and this triggered a cascading effect where we saw a bankruptcy of 3 Arrows Capital, BlockFi, Celsius, and a lot of other big crypto players that went bankrupt because the price of Bitcoin and crypto suddenly dropped quite significantly. And I believe that the crypto bull market ended too early. In a big correction, we suddenly got a lot of really bad news. So that was a black swan event. If you don't know what that term means, a black swan is a event with a very small probability, but a very big impact on everything, on the economy, on politics. So that was just bad luck, in my opinion. And I think that would be a reason why we didn't achieve this previous price target. So to answer the question, why do I believe that Bitcoin could hit 500K much sooner than we think? If we go back to the stock to flow model and we extrapolate, then you see that Bitcoin could actually reach somewhere between, what is it, a few hundred K, even all the way up to 1 million per Bitcoin in this bull market cycle. So if this model holds, then we might get very close to that 500K target. Again, this is no guarantee. This is just an assumption based on this theory. Now let's discuss, by the way, before we continue with the second theory, let me know in the comments below, do you believe that it's a plausible theory that the previous bull market ended too early and that the stock to flow model might still be intact and that we might actually achieve those price targets of a few $100,000 per Bitcoin? Okay, let's continue with theory number 2. Again, this is a tweet of Plan B. So he's looking at his mathematical model. And he's saying, my best guess scenario for Bitcoin between 2024 and 2028, he believes end of year, Bitcoin will be at $150,000. In 2025, at the top of the crypto market, it will be $800,000. So that's even higher than this target of 500K. 2026, it will correct downwards to 400K per Bitcoin. 2027, 300K per Bitcoin. And 2028, 400K per Bitcoin. So that's Plan B's price prediction. Now, I found this list of people on the internet. I made a video about this a while ago that also shared their price prediction for 2024, 2025, this crypto bull market. And you see very well-known people like 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗹𝗶 that is predicting that Bitcoin will go somewhere between 500K and 1.1 million. Plan B, which we're discussing now, also thinks it can go somewhere between 250K and 1 million. We see Mike Novogratz from, I forgot the company, Digital. I cannot come up with it right now. We see Robert Kiyosaki, who believes that Bitcoin could go to 300K. Alex Becker, that believes that Bitcoin could go to 300K. Tim Draper, a famous venture capitalist who believes it can go to 250K. Max Kaiser, who believes that it can go to 220K. So these people are all quite bullish. If you look at these price predictions, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, few 100,000. So a lot of people believe it can go into the few 100,000 range. And this has to do with the fact that we might be entering a crypto super cycle. What is a crypto super cycle? That means that we are going to see much more aggressive and explosive Bitcoin bull market rally than we've ever seen before. And all of this has to do with simple supply and demand economics. As you know, the price of an asset is determined by supply and demand. Of course, that's in a free market when there's no real manipulation happening. But in a really free market, supply and demand basically dictate the price. And when there's limited supply of something, while there is an increasing demand, then it usually means that the price of something tends to rise. And in the case of Bitcoin, there's a very limited supply. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. Right now, there's 19.6 million Bitcoin that are in circulation, and it will take another 100 years for the final Bitcoin to be mined. So it's just a very scarce and limited supply. On the other hand, we're seeing that countries like El Salvador are buying up more and more Bitcoin every single day. So here you see a chart of El Salvador that's buying more and more Bitcoin. Here you see a chart of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. So this vertical axis is how much Bitcoin they own. And now you see that all of the Bitcoin spot ETFs combined own almost 1 million Bitcoin. So, and this is almost since this year that these spot ETFs have been buying up Bitcoin so aggressively. And if you extrapolate this, and if they keep on buying more and more and more, then soon they're going to be holding millions of Bitcoin. And again, this is going to take so much Bitcoin out of circulation. And Bitcoin is already very scarce. Like supply on exchanges is already at record lows. Then we have publicly traded companies like MicroStrategy that are buying up Bitcoin every once in a while. Right now, MicroStrategy owns 226,500 Bitcoin, and they keep on buying more every single month almost. So there's so much buying pressure, and at the same time, there's such a limited supply. Then we see the world's largest pension fund, the Japanese pension fund, which is managing so many assets and so much wealth for its people, and they're considering allocating a portion of that to Bitcoin. So now we're talking about many billions and even trillions that are going to flow into the crypto space. Banks, which have traditionally been one of the biggest skeptics of Bitcoin, are now pivoting and are embracing Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet and offering it to their customers. And the final thing that I want to add to that is when you look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart, which is a free chart that you can find online when you simply Google it, then you see that, and the whole purpose of this chart is to show you the price of Bitcoin overlaid with the sentiment in the crypto market, where the purple zone basically means that people are completely fearful, extreme fear, and the red zone is that the market tends to be very, greedy, and there's a lot of FOMO in the market. Right now, people are just extremely fearful. I noticed that retail investors, the average investor, the average Joe, right now is not active on the market. But when this next phase of the crypto bull market starts, so when we zoom out and we go all the way to this chart, when the next phase of this bull market starts, so the second bull market phase, that's when all of the retail investors, the individuals, your neighbor, your aunt, your barber, are all going to come back into the market, and they're all going to throw their savings at Bitcoin. And that's when we're going to see a cascading effect upwards. We're going to see the institutions that are going to throw in billions. We're going to see the retail investors that are going to throw in all of their savings. And from that moment onwards, it's going to drive the price of Bitcoin up and up. Again, this is a theory. It's not a guarantee. But I wanted to share these two theories with you. And I'm really curious to hear your conclusion about these two theories. Do you believe that these could be valid? Do you believe that the previous bull market cycle could have maybe ended too early because of the war in Ukraine? And do you believe that we might be entering a super cycle because we now see a lot of institutional money flowing into the crypto market, which we've never seen before? And do you believe that it is possible that we could hit a 500k Bitcoin this crypto bull market cycle? All right, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button so that I know that you got good value out of it. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.